Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. All right, let's get on with this, right? We've got things to talk about today, especially because I think this whole idea of paying attention, and last week when we were talking about what pros do, pros really do pay attention. They stop living life on autopilot and they start living life on purpose. And how do we do that? We've got to pay attention. And if you think about it, look at Sarah. Full bloom, full bloom, full bloom. Say that fast 3 times is her quote of the week. Yeah. But wise women are smart, and wise women pay attention, and wise women are in the details of their life and have realized and recognized and stopped, full stop, and said, you know what? I have got to stop living my life on autopilot because I am missing out on the juiciness of life. Have you ever looked back on something and somebody's saying, oh, do you remember the time that blah, 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 blah? And you're thinking, no, I don't, because I was too busy, taking care of kids, cleaning up in the kitchen, doing this or that. We miss out on so much of our lives because we're simply not paying attention. And my whole thing to you right now is, because if we're going to take this truth that Bruce Lipton, who wrote The Biology of Belief, said that 95% of our lives are always in our subconscious. In other words, we're not present. We're not experiencing the juicy deliciousness of life. And I just, to that, my heart just, it skips a beat. It hurts. It makes me sad. And I know this because I've done it. I've done it myself. I look back on my children's lives as tiny children, and I'm just thinking, thank God their father had the wherewithal he was a photographer, took a lot of pictures. Thank God he did that, because otherwise I would have nothing, because I'm not a big on the photos. And I look at these pictures and go, oh yeah, that reminds me. I remember when this happened. I remember when that happened. I remember the times where I got caved to my knees, brought to my knees by all of the enormity of overwhelmingness of being a mother, of trying to run a family and have a home and being broke and not having, anything to put together and wondering how I was going to put gas in the car. All the things that just, I cobbled my life together at that point. And I really was not living in my subconscious. I was living in the very presence of constant problems. And that was my entire focus too. And I felt like my life was just, every morning I woke up thinking everything is just rotten. And it wasn't until I started to learn the gratitude practice that I learned from an older, wiser woman, a Titus woman from my church, who said that. And she said to me, Leanne, you have to love those children up every single minute because they're looking at you every single minute. I needed to start paying attention to them and stop paying attention to these problems. Put these problems in the back burner and put my children on the front burner. I wanted to impress upon them. I wanted to leave something with them. I wanted to connect with them. I wanted them to feel my presence and not just have me in the background, some wild, crazy woman, just blah, blah, blah. Everything's rotten. Because that's how I was starting to live it until I got a little shaken up, and I had an older, wiser woman tell me to pay attention to my children. Well, have you noticed that the word is pay? Because you're going to pay in one way or the other. So to pay means to give someone money in exchange for work done, goods received, or debt incurred. Also, to suffer a loss, a misfortune as a consequence of an action or a non-action. And we pay the price if we don't pay attention. And I will tell you right now, first and foremost, the first thing on that list is your relationships. It's your spouse, it's your children, it's your community, because this is how we get the goodness and the sweetness of life back, when we pay that kind of attention. Because then we're in it every day. Then we are exchanging pleasantries and, discussion points. You know what I'm talking about? Have you noticed how that just changes the whole context of what a relationship is? It's no longer this passive thing and wondering who this person is that you've been married to for 30 years, because you're now paying attention. You're now connecting. This is what I have in, let me see if this is even my book. Nope, mine's upstairs. But in my Take Back Your Life journal, one of the things that I had for my relationships goal was every single day to be present and to be have a touch, essentially, with Mark and with my children and everything. Do you see what I mean with all this? When you pay attention, and you're in it and you're doing every single day, this is what moves the needle and makes a difference in your life. Because when you're inattentive, we're all leading lives without intention, as well as living them inattentively. How empty that is, how shallow that is, how just going through the motions that is, So when we bring awareness by paying attention to our lives, it brings purpose, it brings meaning, and it brings satisfaction. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed how satisfied you are when you see yourself living your goals, when you see yourself hitting those little marks? Have you noticed how different that is? Have you? Well, I'm going to tell you right now that being attentive is connecting with yourself first. Here's the deal, and you know this. Yes, Lucy says it, that life by default. Here's the deal. When we are connecting with ourselves first, when we're getting that whole part cleaned up, then we take away the background chatter. That's why I'm such an adamant believer and promoter of meditation, because it gives us a moment to just shut down all those blah, 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 blah going on in your head and allow you instead to start focusing on the present. It gives you that 100%. The other thing is that it also gives you this opportunity to just calm the heck down. And when we can control those voices and all the stuff that's going on, what we're doing is we're giving ourselves just that small little boost so that we can then turn around and be present with the people that we care about most. It is a game changer. It is a relationship builder. So when we're bringing attention, bringing awareness, we are paying attention to our lives, we're bringing purpose, meaning, and we're bringing a great deal of satisfaction. You like that? So when we become connected and attentive to our own self, guess what happens? Guess what happens? I just got a message from Jenny. How do we become attentive then, especially when we want to live a hotly desired life? How do we do that? How do we do that? How do we get that transformation happening? How do we do that? Well, number one, we start with observation. Observation is everything. Have you ever noticed, like you're observing something, you're looking outside, and suddenly you start to see all the things around you. You start to see the birds and the trees. You see the turtles in the water. I'm all about looking for the turtles. You start to see things. The little things start to show up. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that you can just look and see nothing versus when you decide that you're going to become observant? That's when you're the fly on the wall. Have you been the fly on the wall and you just want to see everything? You do that with your kids. Have you done that with your kids, grandkids, where you just want to observe and see what happens? Well, I'm going to tell you what, observation is a little bit time sensitive because things, sun rises, sun sets. So we have to be very cautious about our observation and frame it in the moment so that we can see exactly what's going on. It has the ability to pull us back and to see. It has the ability to help us to unplug and plug into whatever it is that we need to, simply by observing. And I know, you know what, I believe this. When we want to be, we're great observers. There's an observatory in Griffith Park in California, if you've ever been there. It's absolutely incredible. Observing the sky from the observatory perspective and seeing everything that there is to see, a completely different thing than just casually looking up at the sky. When we observe and we decide to be present with our observations, then we're paying attention and we're seeing things that we might not otherwise see. And number two is this. I think this one's a fun thing. What if you were the director of your own life? Think about that one. You see your life as a movie. So if you're unhappy and you've given up the director's role to a subordinate, what have you done? You've given up the whole direction, your destiny, your fate, and what it is that you want in your life by simply sitting down and saying, you go ahead and, to the, I don't know, prop guy and said, hey, you go ahead and run the movie, right? You know what happens to this? What this really is this is living by no plan, living by default, no sensitivity or regard to time. It's just doing whatever, getting through, going through the motions. You've given up your sovereignty over your life. And this is why I talk about this, because when we pay attention, we have made the decision to take on the role as director and have stopped trying to please everybody and instead try to please not only ourselves, but also to be present in our lives with all the things that are going on, knowing that we have goals that need to get done, knowing finding our way along the path. This is how it's done. This is why paying attention is so critically important. Remember, and this is the other thing here, and I've got this written down. Instead, we need to be detailed with our time. We need to be detailed with our intentions. Do you want to be the main character? Do you want to be the director? Do you want to overcome and become? That's questions you have to ask yourself, because you know what? We're all in a place, we've all been in a place of struggle where we feel like, I can't overcome. I can't do this. It's ridiculously hard. I'm not able to do it. But this is the whole thing. We can control our outcomes when we step into it, when we say, this is what we're going to do. Directors choose the direction and they create the hero. Do you want to be a hero in your own life? I know I do. I want my children, one of the most, and let me just say this to all of you moms who have grown children, the one of the most glorious phone calls you can ever have is the phone call that says, hey mom, I need some advice. Can you help me out? My son did that not too very long ago, earlier this summer. And I had to sit down first. And then I took a deep breath and said, sure, son, very casually, how can I help you? But it's the most incredible, heartwarming thing. And we get to these moments too, but we make a decision to pay attention, pay attention. How can I, instead of constantly dishing out the advice, start paying attention to the relationship instead. Pay attention to the connection instead. Instead of being so quick to just lay it all out there. If you did this and you did that, I wanted to do that with Caroline. Well, Caroline, I even did, let me just tell you what I did. I sent her packing tape and I sent her paper and I said, do you have boxes? Well, she said, oh, well, Sam's going to get them and Samuel's going to bring them, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I kept saying, well, you got to get started. Get this thing done. Do this and do that. Do you know? She did it on her own timing. She did it her own way. And I finally just went, I'm just going to let that go. This isn't my packing. This is hers. This isn't my life. It's hers. She's 31 years old. Let it go. You know why? My relationship with her is way more important than my agenda for packing, isn't it? Pay attention. Pay attention. You have a relationship here to have, not an agenda to execute, right? Man, we need that. We want those phone calls. Mom, can you give me some advice? We want those phone calls. Mom, I miss you. Can't wait to see you. I'm going to have all my little chicks here for Thanksgiving. Are you kidding? I'm so absolutely over the moon excited about that. Pay attention to opportunities to build relationships, because I'm going to tell you, even if your children are at home right now, they will leave the nest, and it goes fast. It goes faster than you think it will. The days are long, but the years are short. And that is absolutely the truth. So paying attention connects the dots and connects that relationship. So focus, because you're the lead, right? You're not an extra in this production. You're the lead character. Focus on that, on yourself, on your relationship, on how can I be even better? How can I connect even stronger, even more? Joanne, it is true. And it's also true with elderly parents. The days are long, but it goes fast. It goes fast. So you can be a guardian of the life that you're choosing to live as well. That means that the time you think out your time, you don't just waste it. You guard your time. Because if you're paying attention, then you're guarding your time. Those two things go hand in hand. Time flies when we're not looking. So if we want to redeem our time and be careful with our time, then we're going to be deliberately doing things on purpose and for purpose so that we can live on purpose and for purpose. Funny how those two things go together, right? And people are our fellow journeymen and lifters of all the boats, right? They are, because when they're on the same page as you, and you know this from being in the whole, being, a lot of you are hot melt 30ing right now, or else you just finished up the sprint and you got your measurements and got everything done today because it ended today. We lift all the boats because the rising tide lifts all boats, right? We understand that. Well, that rising tide is that connection. It's paying attention. It's being loving. It's lifting up, and it's lifting up. Do you feel the lifting? When it's lifting, you're going with it. Nobody gets left behind. Everybody goes with it. And the next thing you know is that there you are in this community, paying attention, having relationship. Everything changes when that happens, because it's no longer just, oh, I'm just here. No, you're not just here. You are all the way here. This is all part of what you are. Number 3, habits, routines, rituals are all in there, are all a part of your process to serve you. Now, I want you to hear this again. Habits, routines, rituals, they're all a process to serve you so that you can pay attention to your life. You can pay attention to your life. You can go about doing things deliberately and on purpose and for purpose. This all brings meaning. This all brings mission. This all brings deep satisfaction into your life because you're paying attention, right? You're paying attention. Hi, Noreen. I see you. And the other thing this means is that you are a protector of what goes on in your mind. You're no longer allowing people to just dump their garbage in there. I had a long time ago, I had something that I used to say is, I don't want to listen to your garbage. My brain, my ears are not your garbage can. I don't want to hear that. And we have the ability, when we are paying attention and when we are running our show, the star, the director, we have the ability to say, I'm just not, no, we're time out, not going to do it. Not going to do it. You have the ability to do that. Keep your sanity and mind your time by not allowing that stuff in, because it's polluting. It's polluting, and it makes you feel dirty. You want to take a shower afterwards. Everything we consume, whether it's crappy food or crappy information, becomes a part of us. Everything. We're consuming garbage if somebody's spewing it. When we allow that, we are saying, I have no boundaries. We're saying, I don't pay attention to my life. It's none of it. And all I'm saying to you here is that when you are paying attention to your life and living your life on purpose and for purpose, everything has tangibility and has meaning. Everything. So it's so important that we guard this, that we make sure that what we're going forward with is the right thing, that we're leaving behind all the garbage. Hey, meat and potatoes right here, give me some vegetables. So we have to look at this body, mind, heart, and soul. What am I allowing in for my body? What am I allowing in to my soul, my mind, my heart? Is there bitterness in my heart, or is there great empathy and kindness and love? What am I listening to? What am I hearing? What am I spending my time on? Am I wasting time? I got a message on my phone that said, your screen time was up last week on your phone. They do that with iPhones. And I thought, wow, I got to work on that, because I don't want my time spent with my face stuffed in front of my phone. That's not quality. Am I going to pay attention to that little thing? Or am I going to say, oh, well, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to pay attention. So that's what I have for you today. I hope you found that interesting. This grabbed me. This is an old show that I did a while ago. It was a Wise Women's Wednesday. Wise women pay attention. But you know what? We need to hear this again. We need to remember that we are the ones that are in charge. We are the ones who can do all the things that we need to do, if only we're paying attention. If only we've made a decision to put our focus on solutions and not the problems. And if only we decided that we're going to pay dearly if we don't. I want you to have beautiful memories. I want you to have incredible experiences with your family. And I want everything that you do to be elevated in such a way that you just feel really good about everything going on in your life, right? Isn't this how it works? Yeah, go pay attention. Peace be with you. See you tomorrow.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.